So Lisa, when we're talking about the Akashic Records and the library, can you tell me a little bit about how that library is organized? I mean, when you think about the library, you have to know, what the record is, where the aisle is to go find the book. Is it like that?
Well, it is a little bit, but that's why we have record keepers. So we don't have to do it. I don't have to go, figure out my Dewey Decimal System.
Right.
Let's date ourselves and go find that. But, it really is fascinating. Many times when students start to learn to access their records in the very beginning, they see a big library, and very often people have that experience, like I'm taking a book off of the shelf and I'm reading the book. Some people have that experience. For me, I open the records and I'm literally standing in the void. I'm just in this space of infinite possibilities, really, until a client asks a question. And so when the client ask the question and they say, I would like to know this, it's like our beings of light, our record keepers, there's actually a hierarchy in the records, which is kind of interesting. So I call them the lords, the masters, the teachers, the beings of light, and then just, generally record keepers,
Right.
So they are literally there just giving you the answer, giving you the information. So for someone like me, I'm clairaudient, clairvoyant, clairsentient. I get it all ways, and it actually very often depends on the client, how you receive the information.
So I want to know, let's say I want to know what my records are. What kind of things can I find out?
Well, you can ask just about anything is really what I tell people, because for us, it's usually related to what issues are up. I'm at a crossroads. I want to take a new step. I feel like I have a bigger purpose. What might that be? Why the heck would I have picked this family that I was born into?
Right.
I feel like I'm an alien and they're not, So people ask all sorts of things, from really the kind of common mundane questions about, personal day-to-day relationships, job, do I have soul contracts with these people I'm working with? Or how am I related to my family members?
So how is this different than just, because I'm an intuitive as well, so how is this different than just a simple psychic reading?
So to me, the way, and I answer this literally from having been a psychic, from having started as a psychic. So when I look at that vibration, what I see is kind of our higher selves having this amazing conversation about what this person came to do. They have pictures in their auric field, there's energy, there's the telepathy that we're often picking up what they're wanting us to say sometimes, right? And so what happened was I started to have these big booming voices is literally how they came to me. These librarians, these record keepers started to give me information that was so much more expansive than anything else I was getting on a psychic level. So I would get the whole story about all of these past lives and the karma this person came to complete, and the soul contracts with their family and what they wanted to do into the future. And I would always say, wow, that was amazing. That was so much more, So when I learned to access this, after they just yelled at me for about 5 years, I was a little slow on the uptake and saying, who the heck are you anyway,
So when someone's sitting there and getting this psychic reading and there's so much more, how do you even explain that to someone?
It takes some time, but literally what I just say is I'm getting a big download about all sorts of other information than maybe you have, if you'd like me to share, a little different because it's going into past lives. And what I tell people is that even if you don't believe that you've ever had a past life, we can actually go into the energy of our childhood, and people seem to understand that they've picked a family, that they've made some choices for some reasons. And one of the things I find that the Akashic Records is just amazing for is the healing vibration. So the Akashic Records are stored in source energy. So what you're literally doing is you're moving into the vibration of source, into this amazing, beautiful, high, pure, unconditional love energy. And the healing that comes through is very profound for so many people, especially when people have had traumatic sort of childhoods or issues in their lives, and they start to realize this love comes through, and they made these choices for a reason. And it starts to make sense, and they get these big aha, moments and realizations like, oh, I was ready to clear that karma. Oh, I have a big global contract with many, many, many souls. This isn't just about me. It's about a way bigger picture than just, my childhood or just my life.
So in your book, you have specific prayers that people can use to help access their records. Can you share a small piece of one of those with us?
I would love to. So this is the way I would actually bring people into the energy of the Akashic field. And I do a brief kind of guided meditation. The Akashic Masters and Lords have given me about a half a dozen sacred prayers to access the records. The kind of interesting thing is they're related to different soul lineages. So they're as unique as we are as souls, these different prayers will relate to so many different people because of the soul lineage. So
here it goes.
Yeah.
All right, I'm excited.
So if you just want to join me, you can sit back and take a nice breath. We center in our hearts and let our hearts open and expand, connecting out into the universe as we ask the divine lords of unconditional love to help us center fully in this moment as we create this sacred space. Please wrap us in your love and protection and allow us to travel to the highest realms of the Akasha available to us today. Please help as we lay our multidimensional hearts open to divine love and release all resistance. Lords of the Akashic Record, please guide us to the deepest truth we can access now. Support us in healing and releasing that which no longer serves on our true path. We give great thanks for your divine love and support on this journey today.
And then what happens?
Well, if you're sensitive, you may feel that energy swirling around you. Sometimes people will have that energy of love. They'll feel that. They'll start to get little tears rolling down their face. They'll feel like, oh, I'm loved. I'm so loved. And really, energetically, we're moving into the space of their record. So when I do this for a client specifically, it would be a little bit longer, a little bit deeper, to move right into their specific Akashic record. And then we start to ask those questions and say, so, what would you like to know? What would you like to do? And literally, for me, I always say I'm a healer at heart. I want to help people complete old karma, to move into a place of forgiveness, to see and know the truth of who they are as an ancient, wise, and expansive soul, so that they can really get on their soul path and do the work they came to do.
So if someone is watching and they want to access the records themselves, I know you have a lot of details on this in the book, so including this prayer and other prayers.
Yes.
So is it a combination of meditation and using these prayers that opens that doorway, the key that you call it?
You know, it really is. The sacred prayers are so powerful. I use a 5-step prayer process that I was given. And so, we really start by setting the intention and creating the energy. We use these sacred prayers to open the records. And then we ask our questions. And I really teach people to journal. It's the easiest way to get out of our heads. And, if we sit there and wait to hear an answer, sometimes we just freeze.
Well, I think that that's true, because people are like, I want to meet my guides. And they're waiting and waiting and waiting for that big booming voice to tell you, you're here for this reason. Yes. I've opened the book. Yes. And the reality is that doesn't happen for a lot of people. It's intuition's gentle. It kind of like gently descends like rain.
Right.
And that we have to listen and be aware, and then we kind of pull it in. So if someone is not as sensitive as you or I, what are some signs, like this is actually my intuition, or this is actually a bit of my record? Is there any way to know? Do you get a tingle?
Yeah, I mean, and there's like a whole couple of pages about that in the book, because I really do, is kind of this oddly galactic human linear person. I like to give all of these details, so there literally are these details about what you might notice, and there's many exercises and processes so that people can literally ask some sample kind of questions, simple questions that you can get answers to. I always suggest we don't to not start with the biggest question, like, you know,
the burning question.
The big burning, should I sell my house, get a divorce, and, you know,
right.
move, leave town, you know. It's like, well, let's work our way into it till we really have some serious faith and trust going on, right? So we work our way through it. We do journaling. I offer about 30 more kind of support questions that people can ask to go deeper. And then what I notice is that we do a process where I would ask that question just of myself. Okay, so I'm going to say, what's the highest and best thing for me to do for myself today? Takes a simple question. I'm going to write that down. Very often for us, it's exercise, or
yeah,
right, you know, whatever it is. Then you open your records using the process, the 5-step process, and you would ask that exact same question, and you would feel, notice, hear, receive a very different answer. And so we get to start to work outside of the records, inside of the records, start to notice. And it doesn't take very many times of doing that. Sometimes for people it's once, sometimes for people it's 3 or 4 times. And they really get it. They start to sense the subtle energy shift.
It feels like it's coming from another place.
Yes.
You know, it's like for me, my intuition kind of comes in from the side.
Oh,
like
yes.
It's not like right in front.
Right.
Yeah.
And the nice thing with when you write this and then you go back and you read it and you can say, oh, that's interesting. I said this and they said this, and I wouldn't have thought of that. That doesn't even sound like the way I talk. So sometimes they really come through with a different sort of cadence, or, you know, the way they speak is
so
different.
when you're writing, you're meaning like you're just kind of writing and not editing what's coming through. You just have a piece of paper and you write something, and you just, even if it sounds a little crazy, you just keep writing. Keep that pen on the paper.
Keep writing, just keep writing, yes. So of course we do, you know, I love it when people sit down and do a little meditation, when they get themselves centered. And, you know, the Akashic Masters have actually given us, there's a dozen total healing prayers, and there's quite a few of them in the book that people can learn. So we're clearing our energy field, we're getting in our hearts and centered, so we can really start to hear, receive, listen, and then we notice what's being told to us.
So let's talk about healing, because people have pain. There's a lot of pain and suffering out there. What does that look like in your Akashic records? What kind of contracts exist, or conditions that can cause an experience that would be painful here in this lifetime?
Well, it can be very varied, but right now what I'm seeing is there's a lot of souls on the earth right now who have come to help rebalance. This is a big kind of planetary or humanitarian contract to help rebalance masculine and feminine energy. It's been imbalanced for a good 3,000 years. There's been a lot of the warring, the masculine over the feminine. Of course, if we look back in history, it was very divine feminine, mother, goddess, earth, really creation. And so there's many people, both men and women, who have contracted to help to rebalance that energy. And that may look like a form of abuse in their life. It may be a very difficult boss that they have. It may be a relationship in which your spouse has an affair. And all of these will show up as ways for us to realize that something is imbalanced. And when we rebalance it for ourselves, we're helping to rebalance it for humanity. So we literally set these kind of trigger situations up in our lives so that we can remember, heal it, bring it back into balance. Forgiveness is a huge piece of work that the Akashic Masters always suggest for us, that when we can move into our hearts, really be the forgiveness, we can go forward in love, and that is life-altering for so many people.
Lisa Barnett, thank you so much for being here. Forgiveness, I think that's such a critical, important piece in everyone's life.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.